In what other position would you ask somebody totally unqualified to determine the rest of the life of someone else or something like this? You could have failed high school, you could have been number one in your class, and you're on the jury deciding for not your peer. I would be afraid of that. I would be afraid to go to a jury trial. It would be a crapshoot. I've been around people who are 10 times smarter than me. We're not peers. I've been around people who road rage me and throw their trash out of their car window. I don't feel like they're a peer either. It would be great for a reboot in that definition, and I think legal juries is the way to do it. I mean, professional juries. Hi, I'm Michael Joy. Welcome to another short, long story in our section called Absolute Joy. Something prompted me to tell a story about when I was selected for jury duty. There's some phrases in the American culture that I disagree with. One is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and the other is this idea of being in a jury of your peers and that we're all equal. And I like to comment on those things. I have some opinions about those. First, I want to tell you about this jury duty because it made me see what my peers look like. I was called into court, downtown Chicago, got the notice, showed up, got selected. What I noticed in jury selection is everybody is hyper honest. Like, have you ever committed a crime? Well, when I was 6 years old. Oh my God, it's not like he has a dossier on you, So if you want to look more honest, say that sort of shit. If you want to get out of it and not be in jury duty, just tell them why you cannot be impartial. There's two stories I'll tell about this. One guy, there was a violent murder. A guy killed a small child. It was horrific, and I just prayed that I wouldn't be selected for that because I didn't want to hear all the details about that. And I watched the jury selection, the first group of 12 or 14 people go through the interview process. The judge says, is there any reason you can't be impartial? And he said, absolutely. He said, my father was killed by a man, I don't remember who was killed, but that fit this other gentleman's demographic. And he said, I'm not over it. I'll never be over it. And however it sounds to you, I'm prejudiced. You just need to know that because you're asking. He said, I don't tell everybody that, but here we are. I see this. I hear about killings. So he just cleared, and I was like, wow, I've never heard anybody just say that. And he was not angry. He was not arrogant. This was a massive chip on his shoulder that damaged him. He presented it, and he was out the door. The other guys that didn't get out the door were like, I have a final today. I'm going to miss my exam. No, wrong approach. Tell him you're racist. Apparently that works. I couldn't believe it. I watched it, and I couldn't believe it. So let me go to the jury duty I was at. This is years before that story, and it had to do with a car crash. The only reason that I'll identify the people as their ethnicity is because it relates to the story. It's not because of any other reason. We hear the case. It's this woman, she was Indian, she had a car accident, and then she was claiming injury months later, and yet she had traveled since then and all these other things. Who's at fault? So we're in the decision time place, and there's 12 of us, and they sent us to the room, and the directions were to assign a jury leader, I don't know what it's called, head jurist. Nobody was saying anything. I'm like, okay, let's start. I said, who wants to be the head jurist? Nobody said. I said, was anybody, in my mind, I'm going structure or be structured. I want to get out of here. I said, so, okay. I said, anybody opposed to me? I said, I'm a small business owner. It's not like I have any special qualifications, and they're like, yeah, go for it. Then people started talking about the case and talking way down the line of what a sentence should be and what someone deserved and this and that. I said, you guys, let's take a different approach here. We might all be already in agreement and we're talking about all these things. Let's take a vote right now. How many of you think she's guilty? And like 10 out of 12 said yes. So we went to the two people and I said, okay, why aren't you guys? What's your story? And the one guy, he said, I'm married to an Indian woman. He said, I see it differently. He said, I'm going to get shit for this. They're terrible drivers. He goes, and I'm married and I love this woman. He's like, but she cannot drive. So I get it. And I said, well, what about the part where she was traveling back to India to see family? And he said, you know what? Her back could have been broken and she would have traveled back to India to see her family. He said, you don't understand what family means in some circles. And I said, okay, all right, thank you for that. And we made some maneuverings about, let's find out who's at fault here. And we got through it very quickly. Then everybody's kind of laughing because we did this in 15 or 20 minutes because we started at the end and came back. And I didn't need to convince anybody who agreed with me already to not agree with me. Everybody was about to walk out into the court and we were laughing and I said, hold up, everybody hold up, please, just a minute here. And I said, look at us. We cannot walk out there smiling and giddy because we've done our thing. Somebody out here has some consequences to what we're about to say. Let's be respectful of that. And they're like, yeah. So we went out and I delivered the message about it, and then they dismissed everybody. And the judge said, if you wouldn't mind staying back for a moment, Michael, he said, could you tell me how you came to your decision? This is very valuable to the attorneys here. And I said, well, first off, can I comment without recourse on how I thought the proceedings were held? And he's like, okay. Now, my friend was a judge, so I know they're human, and I felt okay talking, but I asked for respectful permission, and I said, I didn't understand why you got so mad at that attorney so fast. And he laughs, and he goes, you know how often I see this guy? I know his shit. I know when he's giving me crap, And he's like, so there's a relationship and a dynamic that you don't get to see every day, that I see every day, and I've had it with some things, and I'm tolerant of other things. And I'm like, fair enough. So we talked about these other aspects. I can't remember the details of what they were, but the lawyer was like, oh, this is very helpful to see this. It just tells me that most people want to get out of jury duty as fast as possible because of the way it interferes with someone's life. I got the kids, how do I have daycare? There's definitely a big deal about that. I think our legal system has a lot of fucked up things about it, and one of them is this idea that you're going to sit in front of a jury of your peers. I'll tell you, in that room, I didn't feel like I was peers, and here's why. Let's change it to not be a car accident. Let's say it's a medical malpractice. I think there should be professional juries that have a medical background, because I'm left to just have an emotional decision. I'm not the doctor's peer in knowledge and experience. Why should he have to dumb it down to my emotional biases in order to not fucking go to jail? Peers, that's a flawed thing. Our population is so huge and so diverse. I think we are peers spiritually, but even bodily, we're not peers. I'm not Mr. Olympia. I can't go compete with that guy. I can't win that race. There's a guy in a wheelchair that wishes he had my legs. There's someone in a wheelchair that wishes they were out of the bed. Where do you look? We're not physically expressive as equals, nor are we equals in the way that we make decisions. You could have two smart people here, both lost in the jungle, and one's going to be like, I think we should go this way. The other one's, I think we should go this way. Nothing about us is equal. That's the freaking beauty of it. So why all this equality stuff? Fairness is more where I'm going towards, not based on equality. If I were a doctor in court, I would want other doctors on the jury. To me, that's fair.
Is it a normal practice all over the United States? It's how it works?
They just draw you out of a hat by your DMV license plate. Oh, so-and-so, your time to serve on the jury. You could have failed high school. You could have been number one in your class, and you're on the jury deciding for not your peer. How am I a peer with a murderer? It's chaos. I feel like it used to be like peer in the sense of where we're human. Okay, you got that. I gotcha. The idea to put people in a small room who don't want to be there and somehow expect them that is going to be worked out, and people who have never had power or influence and now are, I don't know what happens in some of those rooms. I would be afraid of that. I would be afraid to go to a jury trial. It would be a crapshoot. And actually, a judge one time said that oftentimes the plaintiff and the defendant or whatever will settle when they see the jury coming in because they wait till the last minute to see who's going to judge them. I just think it's a big hot mess. I don't have legal advice. I don't have any of that. I've been in the room a couple times. I've been around people who are 10 times smarter than me. We're not peers. I've been around people who road rage me and throw their trash out of their car window. I don't feel like they're a peer either. It would be great for a reboot in that definition, and I think legal juries is the way to do it. I mean, professional jury. These are people who are invested to be there, invested to give the time to be there. They're not compromising their life to be there, and they have a skill set. In what other position would you ask somebody totally unqualified to determine the rest of the life of someone else or something like this? What? Where? I mean, you could somebody wears a skirt to work and I'm like, woo, I've just broken the law. Well, that seemed extreme. One stupid comment. Oh, that stupidity can go into that little room. Scares the crap out of me.
You guys, this is crazy.
To me, it's maximum craziness.
It's the first time I hear it. I thought, there's a main jury, the one who sits at the main table and gets the decision because he was trained for that all his life.
No. That's the lawyer. I watch court cases on TV. I think there's a part of lawyering that I would have been interested in, but I don't have the emotional body for it. I remember First time I hired a lawyer to sue someone who wasn't paying me, and he said some very interesting things to me. He said, the plaintiff will likely call you, and all you have to do is, when they want you to talk, is just say, I have to hang up the phone now, and hang it up. You don't owe them any response whatsoever. And the other thing he said is, he said, yeah, I'll fight him. He said, I'll fight him with every drop of your blood. Do you see? He had a lawyering position. He knew that it's nothing for him. Now, in a case where I sued somebody for something else, much later in time, they were all like, get away from those people as fast as you can. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. You are not going to win this type of person. This type of person is so into the system and such a tumor in the system that you will get nowhere with them. Absolutely nowhere. And it was like that. And when we were in court, I remember even the judge, there was tenants. And the judge is like, looks at the tenants. And they didn't even know my name. I'm being accused of I stole all their iPads. I'm like, oh, you couldn't pay your rent. I don't think you could buy all the equipment you said I stole from you. So anyways, the judge has to hold a certain decorum. And he said, are you sure you want to proceed without an attorney? I had an attorney. And they're like, yeah, we're good. He kept saying it. He said, are you sure you're ready to proceed? We don't need an attorney. We have the such and such. And he said, let me tell you what's going to happen. He said, I have your complaint here. It's going to go right over here. And I'm going to bring Mr. Joy's complaint here. And we're going to go through it. Do you understand what I'm saying? He said, I'm going to adjourn this until you come back with an attorney. He knew they were fucked. So here's what happened. They came back just before the date and they called my attorney and said they're claiming bankruptcy. That postpones all of the legal things. It's exactly like they said. They used the system to do this. It's crazy. It makes me nauseous to think about that. There's so much more to that story, but I think some things are not worth reliving. There's the funny stories about waking up in another man's bed greeted by his Rottweiler. That's a story that's funny. This other stuff where I felt hostage in my own building based on a tenant, that's terrible stuff. It's nightmares are made of that. I stay away from that, and I try to stay away from the legal system as much as possible. It's fascinating, the Law and Order sort of TV show side of it, but I think that the Law and Order has kind of a common sense denominator about it. It's written, it's scripted, but the things that I saw happening in court just didn't make sense to me. And I only saw a little bit. I couldn't imagine. But man, don't mouth off to a judge. Wrong time. They are the emperor. So the American judicial system, I don't understand a bit. I've had a little bit of experience with it. That makes me have this much judgment about it. How that goes to there, it's from this to fear. I don't ever want to be in that circumstance. If you're someone who's been in a court case and it didn't go ultra shitty and it actually worked out for you, let me know about it, because it's the same thing that happens on the internet where you see all the bad stories, like the cops behaving badly. I've been pulled over by some police lately. They were totally cool, professional. Let me hear some of the good stories. The good news never makes it to the top of the feed. Give me some good news. Thanks for joining.